Hello, Steve. Hello, Joe. It's time to game classy.
And then there's Steve. He's muted or not joined with his audio. There's Steve.
Hey,
Oh, there he is.
we go. Whoa, ho, it's Magic and Joe.
I don't know the words to that song.
I guess I could also could have went with it's Magic, Never believe it's not Joe.
That's good. I like that. I'll appreciate it. I can dig that.
We hath done it.
It's been a while, Steve. We missed our last scheduled appointment, and now we have much to cover.
It's true. Do we have a lot to cover? Good.
Let's cover entertainment / controversy news first, should we? Shall we?
Ooh, yeah. I'm ready. As per usual, I'm out of touch. You're out of time.
Hey everybody, welcome to Game Classy. I'm your host Joe. With me is always my co-host Steve.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going there, everybody? I hope you're having a great day today, yeah.
Oh, we're gonna do this in a Minnesotan accent? Oh, okay.
Well, I feel it's okay, huh?
So I don't know if I've talked about this in the podcast before, but I have a brother who lives in Minnesota, and he's from Chicago and everything like that. So he has a normal Chicago accent. However, like he's been up there for a while. So every once in a while when I'm talking with him and his friends, they all of a sudden will start talking about something that's very Minnesotan, like hockey. And he completely changes. Like, he sounds like me. And then all of a sudden he'll drop a little bit and he'll be like, oh yeah, the hockey season this year was pretty intense. And so just like, Jesus Christ.
That's really funny.
Yatham. So controversy, entertainment news, the Rings of Power have been slowly unveiled to us.
And they have been revealed,
which, you know what? It could be terrible. I don't care. I'm just super excited to have more LOTR material for us.
It looks awesome to me.
Yeah, I mean, well, I shouldn't say it looks awesome because I haven't seen anything yet. I want to see it before I make any judgments.
I quite do mean that literally. It looks awesome.
Yeah,
I can't say anything else beyond that because all I've seen is some pictures, which I think look great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the pictures look that great. It's, my biggest fear with Amazon is that Amazon, it's also that it's like a made for TV thing. It's a TV show. Yeah, it might have a little bit higher production value, but it's going to look different than something that's made for film. And that's always the case. Which is, why, Lord of the Rings looks like it looks and Wheel of Time looks like it looks.
I mean, I don't want to go too hard, but are you saying that $1 billion series is not enough money to produce a quality result?
No. Are you kidding me? It's not. I would like to think it is, Steve, but it's not.
I mean, I'm gonna at least say that I'm gonna have to press X to doubt that it's not gonna look at least very excellent.
Well, and it's all gonna depend on a lot of things. Like Wheel of Time, for as good as the show was, the show kind of still looked like a WGN Saturday afternoon, adventure show. It wasn't like it has to do with the cameras. It has to do with the filming. It just didn't look like a lived-in world. It looked like someone pulled off a bunch of costumes off a rack in New Zealand, and then they had a bunch of stunt actors working on a Sam Raimi show. That's what it looked like to me.
Here's the thing, though. Did Wheel of Time cost $1 billion?
The wheel of the time keeps on burning. I don't know what I'll watch tomorrow.
Is it canceled?
No, it's actually got like 3 more seasons.
I see.
Which is actually funny because I've only ever read the first Wheel of Time book. I have never read I read half of book 2, and then it just got boring to me. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I can't do it anymore. There's like 30 books. I just don't have the effort to read all of the Wheel of Time books. Maybe a younger Joe would have been able to do that. But even younger Joe stopped at book 2.
I ain't got time to read.
Ain't got time to read, ain't got time to bleed.
That's right. If I'm reading, I need someone to read to me via an audiobook.
Yeah. Be a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus.
That's right. And in most cases, I don't want to hear an audiobook because I only need to hear something for like, I don't know, hour, maybe 2 while I'm walking. So usually I listen to like podcasts, spooky stories or something.
Yeah. I mean, I audiobook wise, I finished off. Oh, actually, I can do a little tangent on this. I just started the Infinite and the Divine. It's a Black Library book. I kind of like ran out. I finished the last Expanse book. None of my series have any new books coming out. So I was like, oh, I'll go back. Everyone's talking about how good this book is. Steve, you would absolutely adore this book.
Nice.
It is a book about 2 old Necrons who hate each other, who are constantly fighting over like one little artifact. So it's a constant back and forth. Like one person will steal it from one, and then they'll steal it back, and then it is like probably one of the most non-Black Library books I've ever read in my life.
So they made a Necron book about Statler and Waldorf.
Kind of. It's more like, yeah. Dwayne made a good analogy of it being like Doctor Who, kind of just like an episode of Doctor Who, because these like, I mean, yeah, they're Necrons, but they're just 2 old guys who know each other from a long time ago and know that they can't really kill each other, going back and forth, sniping at each other. It's pretty funny.
Nice. It's been a while, so I will say once again, Dr. Pooh.
Dr. Pooh. The I'll just say this. At one point, they're fighting, like the 2 of them are fighting a bunch of eldar exodites on a planet. Like they're fighting with each other, but they're also fighting eldar exodites who are riding dinosaurs. And one of them just slams a ghost arc into the side of a dinosaur, and the dinosaur explodes.
That's awesome.
I was like, this is what I want. This is what I always say is, you're like, Black Library books are not real literature at all. They're just fun stuff to take up time. They're like TV shows. Like, don't take them very seriously, and they're way more fun. That's what all Black Library books should be.
No way, dude. The 40K nerds are gonna have your head.
It needs to be serious.
Yes. My Grimdark.
I need my Grimdark. The God Emperor of Mankind, Donald Trump, will save us all. Yeah. But anyway, Rings of Power. So we first saw the preview posters. There was like 13 preview posters, right? Some are 24 preview posters, and it was just their hands and stuff like that. You got to see some cool props and stuff that looked good. That looked neat. I mean, I'll be the first to admit.
Excellent teasers.
Yeah, there was one person who had a sword that had like the 2 trees of the elves on it, and I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. I think it was probably Elrond.
Probably.
So the guy that got to play Elrond is the guy who played young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones. And I thought he looked weird in Game of Thrones, and he kind of looked elvish. So then when he's actually playing an elf, I'm still like, yeah, he still looks weird. Like, even for an elf, he looks weird.
I mean, that's good though. Elves should look kind of weird.
They should. And he was trying to do a Sean Bon accent, which is, I guess he's from Yorkshire. Someone from one of our UK listeners will correct me on that.
I hear that Yorkshire has pudding, and I like pudding.
It's not the type of pudding you think, Steve.
Then in that case, I won't like it.
No,
they need to stop calling gross blood things pudding.
No, that's not that. It's not blood pudding. You're like,
okay.
What it is it's a kind of a doughy, breadish pudding that has meat drippings on it.
You had me until you did the meat drippings. I like sweet pudding, like flan.
Yeah, no, this is not like this is a savory pudding.
Yeah, I'm not. You can miss me with the savory pudding.
It's actually very good. I've had it before. You have it with roast beef. It's like super simple. But what was I going to say? Yeah, he does like he did a Yorkshire accent. He tried to at least do a Yorkshire accent in Game of Thrones and failed miserably. And I'd be interested to see what accent he's using in Lord of the Rings, because doesn't what's his face? Guy who played Elrond. Why can't I think of his name? Yeah, not Viggo.
Bean. Sheen Bean.
But what? Who played Elrond?
I was thinking of Boromir again. That would be why can't I remember his name? Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving, thank you. Isn't he like Australian or is he New Zealand?
I believe Hugo Weaving is New Zealand.
Yeah, so like you have Hugo Weaving, and you know he doesn't do a British accent, but he tries to do a little bit of a British accent. Actually, he was born in Nigeria.
Hugo Weaving?
Yeah, and he mostly Australian. So there you go.
Oh, I see. Oh, fair enough.
Yes.
I thought I admit I did not know. I just assumed because I knew there were many Kiwis in
Yeah.
Loader.
Well, there's plenty. There are Australians as well. So you gotta, it's unless you hear them talking in like their normal accent, it's very difficult to tell the difference.
True.
Between a New Zealander and an Australian.
Actually can tell, believe it or not.
Yeah, I can too. Actually you can look at the difference because I know Australians tend to wear thongs with sandals on. They tend to wear thongs with socks on. Yes.
I was gonna say, is it because they wear that crocodile? They all wear that Crocodile Dundee hat.
Yes. Yes.
As is required by their laws.
If they challenge you with knifey spoony, it's an Australian.
Yes.
If they're grilling on their dick, then they're New Zealand. So
it all makes sense.
Yes, grilling out on the dick. They're New Zealand. If you're attacked by snakes, it's Australia.
Yeah.
If you're attacked by snakes or spiders or any of that stuff, it's Australia.
Something incredibly painful, venomous, and or both.
If you're attacked by mountain parrots, you're in New Zealand.
Mountain parrots?
I think that's New Zealand who's got the mountain parrots. They're very cute, but they destroy your car apparently.
Nice.
I am making shit up right now.
That's all right. It's early. It's a Saturday. We're all having a good time.
This is just for funsies. It's not for realsies.
That's right. We are an entertainment podcast. None of our words reflect our true opinions, nor the opinions of our employers. Of course.
Our entertainment with quotation marks around it, but the
entertainment purposes only.
Yes, with the fun part is also you have with the Ring of Powers is then they did full body shots like for Vanity Fair. I have two complaints, which is my complaints are far different than other complaints, which I'll get into in a second. My one, the Dwarven princess does not have a beard, which I feel is a fucking like how the fuck do you fuck that up?
That is an outrage.
Like it's not even like that to me just shows like blatant disrespect of all Tolkien lore. Like the fact that a dwarven woman does not have facial hair. Because
however, I will put a pin in this.
Okay.
They might explain it in the series.
I'd like to believe that. However, I don't think that's true.
I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying they have a chance.
Yes.
They could even if it's a line of throwaway dialogue, they could at least explain. And that's the thing too. They only showed a few dwarves, if I'm not mistaken, right?
2 full body dwarf pics.
Right, and then there was just the princess, and then was like
just a dude. It was during the 4th.
Okay, so there's during
that. You know what? Fucking, I'm a nerd. I'm gonna go throw myself off a cliff like in fucking Midsummer. Nice. I shouldn't know the fact that was during the 4th that quickly.
So Durin, so you have Durin and then a princess. So all they need to do is one quick throwaway dialogue to explain why that princess doesn't have a beard, and we're okay.
Did she have her beard shorn by a dark elf pretending to be a light elf, and they start the war of the beard?
There, maybe.
Maybe.
We can't say for sure, can we?
Yes. And then, but yeah, yes, that was the first thing. The other thing, they have a Galadriel. Galadriel is wearing full armor. It looks pretty good. My problem, Galadriel is not 6'4". Galadriel is supposed to be a tall woman. for a tall elf.
Well, I mean, then they kind of that's at least, I believe, in line with the Jackson trilogy, because
I don't care, Steve.
I agree with you.
Gimli
but
needs to
aren't
have
elves
his mama
supposed-
fetish.
I agree, but aren't elves supposed to be like 7 feet tall? Like, isn't that like the like aren't if
No.
I'm not mistaken, aren't elves supposed to be very, very tall?
No, actually, Galadriel and Celeborn are supposed to be the same height essentially, and they're supposed to be like the taller of the elves. Like elves kind of top out at 6'4", 6'5". I'm sure they could get taller, but that it's not the average.
Okay.
So let's also think about it like, let's say elves are on average 6 foot tall. You got to think that most humans are probably like 5'6" in the Tolkien world. You know, they're not getting all the nutrition that they need. You know, they're like the Numenorians, they could be like 6 foot tall, you know, because they're the big proud humans. They're like the humans of old. But then you have fucking the regular human who's scraping by on like in Gondor, who's just eating, you know, mince pies or whatever, and he's just like, oh, this is really good, governor. He's only like 5'5" because he also needs to be able to fit into a chimney so he can clean it out. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's, you know, one of the way that Tolkien wrote it. So, you know, he was just looking at his average Brit, and so that's why everybody in Lord of the Rings is 5'6" and has bad teeth.
I see.
Yes.
Well, I'm willing to forgive them the height for now. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, they have a picture where Elrond is like about her height, which kind of bothered me because I was like, no, Galadriel needs to be tall.
Well, I will say that if the end result ends up only being extremely picky loader nerd gripes, I'm gonna be happy with this series.
Yeah, it probably won't. I mean, like, because then we could get into the fact that they had a darker skinned elf and a darker skinned dwarf, and then people lost their goddamn minds.
Well, I mean,
I should say people. I should say subhuman
generous. It's pretty generous referring. I was just about to say it's generous referring to those types as people.
Yeah, they are chuds for sure. Because like, so the dwarven princess is played by a black actress. You know, I saw it and I was like, fine, whatever. You know, it doesn't matter. It's a made up world. It's not a real world. And they're all like, dwarves work underground. They wouldn't have dark skin. It's like, what about in a fantasy world where magic exists?
I mean, let's dial it back even a little bit. Mine's the fact that they're really just trying to coach their racism with whatever qualifiers they want.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Let's pull it back for a second. The beginning of that sentence says a dwarf, which is a literal fucking fictional fantasy race.
Exactly.
They can look like fucking anything. It does not matter.
Yes.
That's another thing too. That type of evolution, that change, if we're going to talk about, if we really want to get into like melanin and how fucking bodies work, that change takes so fucking long. It doesn't happen that fast. Like if you had a dark-skinned race of people or a mixed skin race of people who lived above ground and then moved underground, say, and they only exclusively live underground, eventually, maybe the melanin would fade. But that's maybe, because for that to fade, it would have to be over time because the people who had darker skin would stop having babies, which is not going to make any sense in a societal way. Like you live in the, to quote the Joker, we live in a society.
Yes. Also,
so like your skin doesn't just spontaneously fucking change. It's so fucking infuriating.
Also, it's fake. It's all fake. It's fiction.
Yes.
It's all made up. It doesn't matter.
Let's again go back to the, yes, again, going back to the start of the sentence, we're saying a dwarf or an elf. Like if you were about to say an elf and then talk about the real world, you've got a mistake. There's a mistake.
Failure as a human being. Yeah, and that's like when it comes, like for me, I'm just like, I just don't care. Just, you know, my only thing is just make it good. I don't care about anything else. Just make it good. Make the acting good. Make the directing good. Make the music good. Make the sets look good. Make the costumes look good. That's it. That's all I care about. And, like if that's the one thing we got to worry about, let that be the one thing we worry about. Like the acting. Like, because trust me, if there's bad acting, bad line reading, bad dialogue, that's gonna hurt the show more than anything else.
Oh
And
yeah, of course.
And as I say, let if those assholes want to watch something, let them go watch Triumph of the Will, because that will be the only thing that'll make them happy. So, yeah.
I mean, again, it all comes down to like, I don't care, and actually, at this point, it's just an upside because it makes racists big mad. So like, sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, super sweet on that one. I'm waiting to watch it so I can see if it's any good before I go, meh, it's bad. I mean, it'll probably be just meh. I mean, it's an Amazon show. Amazon shows are generally pretty meh.
Yeah, I've never seen an Amazon show, so I don't know.
I mean, they're fine. As I say with all these streaming shows, it's like the problem with streaming shows, hands down, is that there is no studio saying, you know, if you did this, it might be a little bit better. Now, you could say that's studio meddling. That has never led to anything good. You'd be surprised because you know what? The good studio meddling, you never find out about. But the bad studio meddling is the stuff you always hear about. The good studio meddling is like you didn't even know that the studio gave them notes on that and told them to change that because it would make for a better show.
Well, I mean, I think usually that it like, I mean, I don't want to say for all of it, but from what I've seen, the good versus bad is usually pretty simple. It's like how deep they shove their hand into the pie is usually it. Because like if you say something like I think it's the difference between a studio saying you need to cut this scene specifically,
yeah,
or versus the studio saying you need to cut 10 minutes from this film's runtime.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's exactly.
I'm a fan of the you need to cut 10 minutes from this film's runtime. That's good meddling. Saying they need to cut a specific thing, that is bad meddling. That's how you get things like you don't see what's his name, fucking what was the fucking dildo's name in The Hobbit, the sycophant. Alfred, yeah, like Alfred just in the theatrical release of the Battle of Five Armies, Alfred just vanishes. Like there's just like hanging plot lines that like are not resolved because they were just cut. You have to watch the full cut to see what happens to Alfred and a bunch of other characters.
Yeah, because that's the way it's supposed to be.
It's just odd.
Just that's a subplot that shouldn't have existed to begin with, but whatever.
regardless of the quality of said subplot, the like just leaving it like, wait, what happened to that guy? Like there was a couple. There's been a very similar situation in other movies as well, where like a character like just kind of like doesn't show up again. Obviously nothing to the level of like Tommy Wiseau characters, but like in the room where there's characters who like yeah, or like the lady who's like, I have cancer, and then like she never shows up again. It was like this like big plot point and she's just gone.
Well, I mean, you're talking about Tommy Wiseau movie, so let's
I mean that's obviously quite silly, but yeah. Hi, dog. Oh man,
I hate her so much.
I have to say the Disaster Artist is a lot more fun than actually watching The Room, I think.
Yes, 100%. I think anybody who watches The Room is a sadist. So
I was a big fan. I didn't really like The Room, but man, did I like the Disaster Artist.
Yeah. The so Rings of Power, I'm interested. They have me as apparently there's supposed to be like an actual like preview or a trailer during the Super Bowl. I will not be watching the Super Bowl, but I'll gladly watch it online afterwards.
The Super Bowl, more like the Stupid Bowl. Bam, got him.
Yeah, Superb Owl. I do enjoy the Superb Owl.
Yes, I think it's really funny that they managed to get that and set up that amusing joke.
But yeah, so I'll watch that and I'll see. It probably won't even be anything. It'll probably just be like Galadriel standing on a mountain while like wind is whipping around her skirts as it's blowing, and they're like the rings of power. And it's since we're in the age of fucking who's that guy? Hans Zimmerman's fucking scores. It's just gonna be like wow.
The Mandalorian.
Wow. And that's what you're gonna see here in the background.
What if there's dubstep? Aragorn throws on shades and lights up a huge spliff, and then is like ready to rock.
Dubstep. What is this? 2011.
Yeah, it's early 2000. It's late 2009. We're ready to blast out the dubstep.
Listen to some dubstep, drinking some Four Loko. It's time.
I think Surge still existed at that time too.
Probably. Yeah. Oh God, I don't even remember anymore. I'm getting old. So let's get into some gaming news, shall we? Shall we?
Gaming news.
Games Workshop put another nail in their coffin. I know that I say that, and it's like, it's probably not going to be that bad. You know, they'll survive, but they added another 5% price increase. Even though they had record-breaking profits. Last year they actually did take a little bit of a hurt on their profits, or on their stock price, just because they had a bad year. Or I don't even really know why. I think it was they had a bad year due to shipping and shit like that. It was more supply chain issues than anything else.
Line no go up enough. Line need go up. Line need always go up. Why no line go up? Line go up always. Line not go up always. That's impossible.
That's impossible. So yeah, they had a 5% price increase, and on that same day that they announced the 5% price increase, I actually found a file trove of beautiful Necrons that are almost 1-for-1. So I'm now able to print an entire Necron army and not even look at the Games Workshop stuff because they're nearly identical. You have
but the real question to that is, why are you going to print a Necron army?
I don't have to, but I can. Actually, I printed the Infinite and the Divine from the book, but that's a different story because I just wanted to print them. Because I was like, I read about you in a book, so now I'm going to interact with you on miniature form. I'm the Divine.
I read about you in a book. Now you're my toys.
Now you're my toys. I'm going to put you in the cupboard with the Indian, and you're going to come to life. That movie raised so many ethical questions.
Did it?
Yeah.
Were they truly alive? Were they truly alive?
Exactly.
Or were they elaborate automata?
Like, did they have genitalia?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
If you touch their genitalia, are you molesting them, or are you just playing with your toys? I'm so confused by the whole thing. Ethical dilemma, Steve.
I mean, is it? But it could be a Toy Story thing.
Are they like flesh golems?
I would say that they are automata that are operating within their programming. So like the Indian in the cupboard is operating as his toy design would have you believe. I believe. I mean, it's been an extremely long time since I've seen that film, but if I remember correctly, everyone was exactly what they were, and they didn't have higher thought outside of their limited scope. Because like if you put like a toy soldier in there, like that's all that character, or that's all that when it animated, that's all it was just a soldier. It didn't have like any other.
So if you put a vibrator in there, it would just vibrate.
Yeah, it would just vibrate.
Yeah, because but if the vibrator let's say you took a He-Man figure, right? Let's say you took a Man-at-Arms figure and you remove the legs and the arms and you glue them onto the vibrator and you put that in the cupboard. How would that work?
Does the vibrator have a head?
Does it need a head? These are the questions.
No. I'm asking if the like what if you have attached arms to the vibrator, right?
Yes.
I believe in that instance, what it would do is it would use the arms to attempt to find any hole to penetrate.
Okay. So just serving its function.
Right. It would serve its function as well as it possibly can given its form. So it would use the arms to propel itself to try and, insert wherever.
What does this say about Data?
Well, see, data is a different story because data does not have limited parameters. Data is a positronic brain, so he's designed.
But don't we all have limited parameters, Steve? We can't usually operate outside of our operating system. See, this is the bigger. These are the bigger ethical questions that I have about Indian in the Cupboard.
Here you go. If you put a data toy into
layers.
the Indian in the Cupboard, now that is a layer, because then it would be data. Because then that would break all of the previous. That would break all of the previous things I said, because then it would be data. It would be something that can learn and be
some sort of simulacra.
A simulacra, yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That's the difference, because data is not a pre-made archetype. Data was something that, data was an attempt to create life. So I think this where you would get to the ethical dilemma questions with Indian in the Cupboard specifically would be if you yourself handmade things to put in there. And here's another, and this is the real like questions for Indian in the Cupboard again, is if you made like a clay figure, like you just made like a little clay guy,
like a golem, like of Jewish lore.
Yeah, I don't know what would come out in that instant, because the Indian in the Cupboard is a very succinct story. It doesn't go into like, what if you put something that isn't normally meant to go in there. Now, there's the other thing too, where maybe if you put a data figure in there, or if you put your own little homunculi that you've made, maybe they don't animate. Maybe it can only truly animate toys that are both form and function.
So only official toys of the Hasbro Corporation.
Yes, or whoever owns whatever giant megacorp made the cupboard, obviously.
Yes, it's the cupboard. It's the cupboard's made by Hasbro.
Yeah, this cupboard's made by Hasbro. You can't put a Gundam in there. Those are made by Bandai.
Ah.
Oh, but I wanted my Gundams to move. Sorry, you're gonna have to wait for Bandai to come out with the cupboard.
The problem is that your Gundams are not toys; they're articulated models.
It's true. There are Gundam action figures though, which are separate from the model line.
Yeah, so you have to put a Gundam action figure into there, not a model.
But then you fall back into the whole thing where it's not going to work because the Gundam action figure is Bandai, not Hasbro.
You have to buy a Bandai cupboard. I get it. Yeah. So they do so getting back, Games Workshop did a price increase. It's just everybody buy 3D printers at this point. Just do that. You could literally, I have files to print every 40K army at this point in almost, I would say, 1-to-1 fashion. That is, that they look identical to the ones that Games Workshop produces, but it's better because instead of like 8-piece Necrons, I have 2-piece Necrons, or it's a 16-piece Rhino. I have a 1-piece Rhino that I just printed as 1 piece, and it just comes out, and I'm like, yay! I don't have to do anything to this. Those exist. Like you say, like, oh man, but part of the Games Workshop experience is I really enjoy building the models. No, you don't. That's something that's Stockholm syndrome right there. You don't.
No, I think there's like 0.11% of people who like building, and then there's 0.11% of people who like building, and then everything else is like somewhere in between of like some sort of coping mechanism about having to build your models.
It's for me. I find funny is that I enjoy building the models, but I enjoy building the resin models that are only 4 pieces instead of like 20 pieces. That's so much nicer. I did.
It really put it into perspective for me the other day too, because I was because I wanted to, there was another day I was like, man, I really fucking want to paint, and then I looked over and I was like, fuck, none of my shit's built, so I just did something else.
Well, I did some crisis suits for Tau just for fun, and those are actually a decent amount of pieces if you find them online, because crisis suits are superposable. And I was like, oh, I hate doing this. I hate the super multiple part poses like this. Just give me the pose that give me 1 or 2 poses and I'm okay with that. You don't have to do all this shit. It's obnoxious and annoying.
Well, that's why I like the AOS models a lot more, because the AOS models are usually like single poses, or like you can put like this arm on and that's it.
Yeah, some of them are good. What's it called? Shades Underworlds. those war bands are generally end up looking pretty nice. Every once in a while, they have a weird seam, and you're just like, why did they put this seam right here? This is the worst place in the world for that seam to be, like where the two pieces connect. It's really dumb for that in that place right there. But normally, it's like I'd say like 80% of the time, it's fine.
Nice. Yeah, and for me, it really put it in my thoughts was I used to like building armies and stuff, but then I remembered it was because it was mostly gluing single part metals into bases.
and then you're like, oh, I hate gluing single part metals into bases.
I mean, that part wasn't good, but it was at least fast.
Oh yeah. Did you see the news about Underworlds, by the way?
No.
They have the new book for Warcry that just got released either this weekend or next weekend. I don't know when it's actually dropping, is allowing you to play your Warhammer Underworlds warbands in Warcry now. So I think that's one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time, and I'm actually kind of really excited about it. So all the season 1 through, I want to say 4 of Underworlds are going to have all of their warbands have stats so that you could play it in Warcry.
That's pretty cool. If you find anyone playing Warcry, that'll be sweet.
Yeah, I mean, Warcry is actually, it's not super popular right now, but it does have its.
Well, I mean,
its
nothing's
supporters.
popular right now,
No.
to be honest.
Actually, I was just looking at something that's doing really well right now, and I can't think of what it is.
Tabletop Simulator is doing well right now.
No, people are out playing. Actually, game stores are pretty crowded. Every time I've gone to one of our friendly local gaming stores, it's always been kind of packed with players.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. I told you guys, COVID's over, Steve. I know you like your Howard Hughes. I'm staying in my house in perpetuity in a plastic, the boy in the bubble.
Hey, man, I haven't even got so much as a cold in 3 years.
I know. Well, you have the moops, so you're the boy in the bubble. You are John Travolta, Jake Gyllenhaal. You are the boy in the bubble. But people are done with COVID. It's over. They're lifting the indoor mask mandate at the end of the month. Say, Levy, did I tell you I had COVID?
No.
Yeah, I got it. It was fine. I was over it. I was over it in 3 days. They wouldn't let me go back to work for 10, so that was kind of nice. But
yeah, well, I mean, you had it in like the optimal scenario, right? Vaxxed, boosted, caught it.
Oh yeah, exactly. It was it wasn't as bad because I was fully vaxxed.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend who has to take they work in public space, so they have to take rapid tests every day.
Yeah,
and they just take one in the morning. They're like, rapid test, and then he's like, oh, I have COVID, and he just he calls his boss. He's like, I had COVID. He's like, oh, and like I was talking about it. And I was like, did you get any? He's like, no. He's like, I didn't have a single symptom. He's like, I woke up fine, just like any other day, and just was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, I had symptoms. I had a stuffy nose and a headache, but that was about it.
Yeah, it's like barely anything. Which I mean, hey, it's one of the it is one of the. I was talking to one of my coworkers about. Is like, it's one of those. It's a very insidious. This was pre-vaccination anyway, but like it was still. We talked about how it was just a very insidious virus because it's like. The range of the symptoms was so just like absurd because it's like, yeah, some people they're just like, I got a little bit of a stuffy nose, can't really taste much, and then like the other person's just like, I am dying. Yeah,
I never lost the taste. I always had that.
The taste, the stuff.
I always had the taste. I never lost the taste.
That I believe that's the relaunch in the end of the movie. I believe they relaunched the stuff as the taste, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, is that it?
Yeah, it's the taste because that was if anyone's never seen the movie The Stuff, I highly recommend the movie The Stuff. It's a very good film. Well, it's a good movie. I don't know if I would say it's very good, but at the end, the corporate scumbos determine that they can reduce the content of the original The Stuff by cutting it with other items, and they relaunch it as The Taste.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I enjoy The Taste. The Stuff.
It's a good movie. I think I recommend it to anyone.
And so, yeah, I never lost my sense of taste, but it's one of those things right now. It's like, hopefully the under 5 vaccine will be done soon. And then I'm not going to worry about people who don't get vaccinated. And I know that there are some people who are like Adepticon is coming up in a month. And
Mhm.
there are people who are very upset that Adepticon is charging this year to walk the floor because of safety issues. Like, you have to show your Vax card to get in, to get your ticket. So you can't just walk the floor like you used to. You have to have a ticket. And some people are very upset about that. And I'm just
My freedom, my freedom.
Oh. And I realized that that's why they separated the historical gamers to a different section of the convention, like a different hotel.
That's the COVID ward.
That's the COVID ward. Yeah.
As I said on Facebook, the reason I dunk on historical gamers so much has very little to do with historical games, and a lot to do with historical gamers.
Did we talk about that in the air about the fucking Flames of War guy?
No,
I don't know if we talked about him. Like, what a douchebag. I am so upset with the fact that this British company who fully aligns with America's policy is making us wear these masks and blah blah blah. And it's like, whatever. In this case, we're not counting Adepticon in the nationals and blah blah blah. It's like this guy who's he's in peak comorbidity for COVID. Like, if this guy caught COVID, he would die. He is a Herman Cain Award winner in progress.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's an American historical wargamer. That's like the three words I just said has all comorbidities.
All comorbidities, and like,
yeah, being an American is one. That's a comorbidity. Being into historical game, being into that kind of history, that's two, and then historical wargamer, that counts as two. So I'm gonna say that's four.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I love all of those things. It's just I am fully vaccinated, and I also have healthy interests and tastes.
But also, I mean, you and I are Americans. We both have that comorbidity. That is one.
We do have the American comorbidity. But now I have super antibodies for at least a month or something like that. I don't remember how long.
You're boosted. You're broadcasting your 6G. You can go on the internet anywhere. Yeah.
That's me harnessing the 6G. I'm playing 4D chess on my 6D.
Hell yeah.
So the yeah, I don't remember where I was going with it. Oh, with Adepticon with the
we're dunking on historical nerds.
Dunking on historical nerds. They suck. Woo! Yeah. No, it's there's some quite lovely people who play historical games. I just find it funny that like the vast majority of people who are upset about it are going to be that. And don't you love it when they make announcements like that on their YouTube channel? It's always like them sitting in front of their computer screen, but the thing is that the camera's off to the side, so they're kind of not looking at the camera but kind of looking at the camera. Like, it's weird like how that looks, and like you could see into their very sad existence of their bedroom as they're making those announcements.
Yeah, it's great.
Like, don't get me wrong, like if people saw my sad existence here, that would it's nothing to laugh at, but at the same time I'm not broadcasting that out to the world.
Right. I mean, it's like Lenny. He didn't mean to broadcast that. The wall of the house fell down. So please don't tell anyone how I live.
Yeah, exactly. Except he's doing tell everybody how I live.
Yes, exactly. He's doing the opposite. He tore his own walls down and was like, "Hey, tell everybody how I live."
Oh, good. Other Games Workshop news. They released their. I think since the last time we talked, they've kind of shown the entire Eldar range, new plastic Eldar range.
Yes, they finally are updating some of those extremely ancient minis.
Ancient, like second edition ancient.
Yes.
But I don't think that they're updating the Grav Falcon, which is one of the oldest models. Like that thing is like from '96.
The weird thing about that is like, I don't agree that there shouldn't be a new kit, but that kit is like unlike the Lehman Russ, which has like the terrible segments where you have to put like the tank treads together.
Yeah.
The Falcon Grav Tank kit, for lack of a better term, I think is pretty perfect. Like, having put together a decent chunk of Falcon Grav Tanks, like I don't have any like serious gripes with that kit. Like, so I guess you could just
Yeah, my
You could
problem is
you could do a more detailed one, I guess.
my problem is that the Falcon Grav tank is a bitch to put together. It's a pain in the ass to put together. Like it could be easier. Like you once again, you've done them in the past. They weren't as bad as some models, but they're still like really shitty. Like they're a shitty experience to put together.
Yeah, I mean, they could definitely do a more contemporary kit design, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think they did new bikers not too long ago. Well, I shouldn't say not too long ago, but a while ago.
Yes.
So
well, let's say not too long ago in Games Workshop terms.
In Games Workshop terms, yes. So they definitely have new Guardians that look nice. They have new Rangers finally, because those were the worst. Those were like pre-second edition. Those were Rogue Trader, I want to say, models that they had. They never updated them since Rogue Trader. Maybe second edition. I'm not 100% sure on them. New Dark Reapers, which I think look shitty. They look like the old Dark Reapers, which I thought looked shitty. So the new Dark Reapers, of course, are going to look shitty.
I like Maugan Ra because his gun is called the Mauganator.
The Mauganator. That model's fucking crazy. It's fucking shit.
I love that model.
I don't like
those. Are my favorites. I mean, he's legit a second edition model though.
The new Maugan Ra you don't like?
Oh, I didn't see the new one. See the new one.
He's got like a bunch of like fucking like spinny cloaks on the bottom, so he's being held up by bits of his cloak. So that's kind of obnoxious. Yeah, so I keep that in mind. There's new Avatar, which looks nice. It's huge. You knew that was coming out though. They were gonna do that.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah. And what's that called?
Plastic aspect warriors.
There's a few. So I think that the aspect warriors that they haven't done updates to are the fire dragons and the striking scorpions, if I'm not mistaken.
That is a shame because the fire dragons and the striking scorpions are both in dire need of new models. Because
they had the new Howling Banshee one that came out in that box set with the new plastic Howling Banshees, which were nice.
Yes.
And now I think they did the new Maugan Ra, and I'm not 100% sure if they did the Dire Avenger one. They probably did. I haven't been following it that much because I'm not that big of an Eldar fan, and I have better plastic resin Eldar files that if I wanted to use,
I just don't follow anything with 40K. I have no desire to ever play 40K ever again. So
yeah. Well, I was talking with you about that. Is that I'm very much with all of this like updates to the printing. I've been interested in 40K again, like not like hardcore, but it's just like, but every time I look at the 9th edition rules, I'm just kind of like, this is too much. This is way too complicated. It should not be that complicated.
No, it's way too much.
Yeah. It's just like, there doesn't need to be that much. So I was looking, and I think maybe some of the people on the podcast who listen can kind of chime in, but the best edition either has to be 3rd or 5th. I've kind of come down to that. You say that the best edition is probably 3rd, right?
Yeah. I think third is. I believe most people would agree that 3rd is probably the best. I found 2nd edition the most appealing, but I wouldn't say it's like the best rules wise, but it's the most appealing to me.
Yeah,
because it's still very weird.
Yeah, the 3rd edition is. Here's my case for 3rd edition. I will argue both 3rd and 5th. So here we go. 3rd edition had a very streamlined rule set. Every army pretty much had a book in 3rd edition. But here's the thing. 3rd edition was super duper vanilla. Everything kind of felt the same.
No, that was 4th edition. 4th edition was the vanilla edition.
Listen to me, what I'm saying here. 3rd edition, everything in an army kind of felt the same. There was not a lot of flavor in terms of like Eldar. All those Eldar armies were kind of very just kind of plain. But then they released Craft World Eldar, and so you could maybe do that. But even the Craft Worlds were kind of identical. The guard all kind of felt identical. There was no there was not a lot of customization in the armies. All of the Space Marines that you would get, like the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, aside from like one special unit, all kind of felt the same. It was the same problem with 6th edition fantasy. Like people you and I think very fondly in 6th edition fantasy, but 6th edition fantasy armies were actually kind of boring because they only had like half the units that we remember. All the units that we remember were from 7th and 8th edition.
There's a caveat to this.
What's that?
And that is 3rd edition was terribly balanced. So the reason all of those armies felt the same is because you only took the good stuff, and the good stuff was very, very narrow.
Yeah.
So like there was tons of choices you could take in an Imperial Guard army to make your Imperial Guard army extremely unique and lose every game.
But even still, it's not like there was like that much difference. Like you could there was like on the outside a Talarn army and a Cadian army were just the same model, and we're the same army just with different models. Like there was no real like impetus to take like a Talarn army. Like there was no like Talarn section or like Talarn special rules or anything like that. That shit just did not exist. No Vestroyans. There was no special Vestroyan rules.
The Vestroyans.
It was the Vestroyans. I don't know why I was doing the Havadagila, but
4th edition took that actually and escalated it.
Yeah, 4th edition, it was not great. That's why I said it's between 3 and 5. 5 actually had a lot of variety, but the thing that in my research and going through a lot of the books with 5th edition is that 5th edition was designed to be non-competitive. I know this seems weird, but in looking at like production diaries and like journals and stuff that was written at the time, the biggest complaint was that this game could not be played on a competitive level, and Games Workshop purposely made it that way to get away from grand tournaments and tournaments in general with 40K. For some odd reason, there was a push during 5th edition 40K to get away from the hyper competitive angle. And if you look back at it, like the 5th edition, kind of like that point where people realized that about 5th edition has started to fall, and the rise of War Machine as a hyper competitive game actually kind of line up. Like War Machine was on the rise at that point, and it kind of peaked right as 5th edition started going down. And then when you had 6th edition, that's when War Machine really took off. And then outgrew its britches.
I think 6th edition was pretty universally hated.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't include that on the list at all. 7th and 8th are kind of identical. 7th, 8th, and 9th are kind of identical for 40K. The 6th edition's right out. So it's between 3rd and 5th. So I'm kind of leaning towards 5th because I like the idea of a non-competitive, very themey type game. So I think that's where I'm going with that. But if our listeners have some ideas on it, I am more than happy to entertain those thoughts and call them stupid.
My fave is still 2nd. That 2nd edition box was just too cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like 2nd. The thing is like 2nd is when you play 2nd edition or you collect 2nd edition, you're an old hammer player at that point, Steve. You're an old hammer player.
I mean, if you're going to go back in time, no one should be playing it now.
Back in time.
Those games are old and shitty for a reason, and saying that they were better is like very much like rose-colored glasses, like up the ass. Because like perfect example, like OSR, I think OSR is very cool. However, I've said this before, like playing a contemporarily designed game inspired by old school role-playing games is a vastly superior experience than playing a legit old role-playing game.
Yes, I agree.
Because you can take the things about the old games that actually sucked, but keep the things about the old games that were actually good. Like, for example, no laundry list of skills for your character. That being out is good. Hit matrices, not good. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, so that's where I stand, and I think if you were to do a second edition redux and like fix the things that were actually weird about the edition, but kept the same vibe and the like army size, I think second edition would be where I would want to be in those regards.
I want to be where the people are.
If you well, you're not playing second edition Warhammer 40,000, that's for sure.
If you go and you look at the what's it called, the rule books for Osprey miniatures games, that's very OSR adjacent. They're not.
Yeah, it's like Frostgrave and stuff.
Not Frostgrave. Frostgrave is North Star. It's a different. That's different. I'm talking like Osprey does these rule sets that are like they're all warband kind of oriented, but they're very much Pulp Alley-esque, where there's a lot more role playing kind of involved with the miniatures than as opposed to competitiveness. Because I think I said it best, where it's like, well, I hate to toot my own horn. I said it best when I said Osprey games are rules where you go, wait, that can't be the rule, and then you look up the rule and you're like, wait, that can't be right, and then you're like, well, I guess we have to dice roll it because it doesn't make any sense.
That's great.
That's where we are on that one. The speaking of role playing in minis games, did you see? I showed you those box. I sent you. You looked at those box sets, right? That Games Workshop putting out for the big box stores.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, they actually have a Warhammer Quest one coming out, which
I saw that. I thought that was really cool to have the characters be miniatures and then the enemies be tokens. That was great.
It's a neat little concept. I'm interested. And plus, if you have the actual miniatures, because they're all Silver Tower miniatures, if you have Silver Tower, you could just use those minis.
It actually had me. That actually had me think about minis games. So like, I was thinking about this the other day because I was like, for a very brief moment of time, I had a dalliance with thinking about picking up the Bloodborne board game.
That's the I don't know that one.
Bloodborne is like, it's made by the same guys who made Dark Souls. Bloodborne is kind of like the weird Lovecraftian
okay.
one.
I know what you're talking about.
People love fucking Bloodborne. Like, people love Bloodborne. People who don't even like give a shit about Dark Souls, like, there's like, my favorite game is Bloodborne.
Okay,
and I get it. But Bloodborne is very cool. The aesthetics are awesome. The story is really cool. It's Lovecraftian. Like, it's a very badass game. I like it a lot. And it's also one of the games that it's more fun to watch people play Bloodborne than Dark Souls, which is interesting. But like, I couldn't tell you why that is either. But anyway, they did a board game, and the board game has, everything. And obviously everything has models and blah, 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 blah. And that was eventually what actually like sold me on it. Cause I was just like, I don't fucking want to paint like 30 Yarnum villagers and like a bunch of like ghouls and werewolves. Like, I actually don't want to paint fucking 200 models for a board game. Why
are there so many expansions to this game? I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, holy shit.
So many expansions. They had so many because they have everything. But that actually got me thinking. And then I thought about Hero Quest too, because even Hero Quest has too many minis for me. Like,
there are too many miniatures nowadays.
That's like legit. However, that Games Workshop game actually kind of put it into perspective for me, and I think that there is like, this is obviously just a very personal thing for me, but I think there's an optimal middle ground where you have like, if I were to design a board game that I wanted to do like in the vein of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, I think you should, if you want to have maximum return for like kind of everyone. I mean, it wouldn't sell because people love buying games with thousands of miniatures to stick in a closet and never actually look again. Because as I've said before, people who buy board games don't play board games; they hoard board games. So they can post a picture of their like 17 Kallax shelves in their basement that are just completely full of board games that they never play to get Reddit karma.
Reddit karma.
Yeah. The Reddit karma is not going to pay back the credit card debt from all those board games, my friend. But what I would do is, like, if I was going to like make Bloodborne myself, the characters would have miniatures. All of the goons, like, if they are goons, they are tokens. If they are mini bosses, they are miniatures. If they are bosses, they are miniatures. So instantly, you cut so many of the models out of that game. So many.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, that makes sense.
and you'd still have all the things that will make the game good. You'll still have all the encounters, and when the fight, man, it's because it's exact. And the reason I feel so like duh, it was such a dumb moment for me because as someone who DM'd a lot and DM'd with models that he was building and painting, I realized that painting skeletons and goblins fucking sucks. Not just because you have to paint a bunch of them, but because they die so fucking fast. They're very irrelevant.
I love painting skeletons. Skeleton painting is so relaxing to me.
So, but like, so you're like, oh, check out this like cool like 10 skeletons and like 3 zombies and like whatever, and like you throw up the D&D encounter. Your players like murk through them in like 5 minutes. You take your carefully painted models and put them away. Maybe they'll come back again at some point. But I was just thinking about that, and I was like, I got away from doing that with D&D because of that, and I got away from just having models for D&D because of that, because stuff just dies so fast. But where models ended up being very cool in D&D is when it would be like a hill giant and like a rock troll. Like the encounters, a hill giant and a rock troll, the minis are great there because like because it's like, oh shit, this is like a big deal. So I started thinking about it, and I think that miniatures for role playing and for board games by extension, and I do specifically mean dungeon crawl board games like Bloodborne and Hero Quest stuff. If the encounter is meaningful, there should be miniatures. If it's chaff, or if they're like trash mob add-ons like minions in 4th edition, which is I still can't believe they didn't keep that rule for 5th edition. Then they should just be a token or something that's just more just like represents, where they are. I just don't see why you like need so many models for trash mobs essentially.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, my feeling is, and I've kind of gotten to this, is that if a board game has minis in it, those minis have to be very good for me to want to paint them, or something similar. Like it has to be a game that I'm going to be invested in order to paint those minis. I'm not going to paint minis looking at the Bloodborne minis. They're kind of cool, but I probably would just paint the main guy. Like maybe do contrast paints for the other ones, but that's about it. Like I was actually someone pointed me to a video about contrast paints and about what the alternatives are and for other companies and stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. But the one thing he did say that like really that resonated with me is just like, yeah, if you're going to paint with contrast paints, get a cheap brush, because man, these paints really fuck up your brush. And I'm just like, yeah, man, I feel that 100%.
Oh yeah. You got to use your contrast brushes. There's a separate set of brushes.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that's a completely separate separate set. But that's what I'm like the Bloodborne stuff. It's like it's fine, but I'm not painting 6 copies of the same mini for this board game.
Yes, especially, exactly.
Yeah.
I do think contrast color coding is also fine. Like if I were to I'm not going to, but if I were to be like, you know what, fuck it, I am gonna get Bloodborne, what I would do to both A, maintain my sanity, and B, have visually distinct models is you just do solid, like you basically make them into like like when old games like Hero Quest and stuff, when they did the plastic injection and like the goblins were green plastic, the skeletons were bone plastic, so on and so forth. You just do that with contrast paints. So like if they were like Yarnum townsfolk or whatever, I spray them, they get a brown contrast wash. If they're gargoyles, I spray them, they get a gray contrast wash. And that's it. Like nothing more. It's just so you can be like, these are game pieces and you can tell them apart very easily at a glance now because they're color coded.
Game classy.